Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, good afternoon to you. Good old dark 30 to others. And Madeline just down the road.
I'm mute. You're muted.
I said on this orangey ash dropping morning, the fires are affecting the area. So
yeah, we're it's a good title, huh? Befriending uncertainty. So on top of everything else, we have fires all around, and it makes beautiful sunsets and sunrises, but it's smoky. And I can feel for myself that it, at a cellular level, triggers the last couple of years when we've had fires, and there's been tremendous loss in a time when a lot of people actually and their animals stayed up here on the ranch. So hello all, and let me suggest that we do a centering practice here, getting ourselves present. We can do that sitting or standing. And let's begin just simply by feeling ourselves and being with what is. Taking that moment to drop in to ourselves. As we feel our somas, noting what's opening, what's open, what feels more constricted or contracted. We can all review our own personal suspects where we may tighten that strategy to push life away or try to control it. And let's all bring our attention to our vertical line, getting present, open, connected, really along our vertical line. Let me suggest we sense, feel, imagine more space between our vertebrae and our spine. Soles of our feet open, maybe our toes spread, crown of the head is open. So we truly can be this bridge between heaven and earth. What does that mean for us? That we have a spiritual perspective, really panoramic perspective, and our feet are on the ground. We can act and take action. And let's get present along our width, open along our width, and connected. So we feel balanced in our feet and our knees and our hips. Feeling how the breath can open along that horizontal plane, like a book opening, clamshell opening. And our heads on straight. And can we expand out into our room and really include the precious objects we may have in our room. connect to the other living things, maybe a plant. You have a four-legged friend that's around. I always think of this wooden table that I'm sitting in front of. It came from a tree. With my peripheral vision, I can see the palm tree outside my window and the oak trees on the other side. And let's expand out and connect to all of us here in our intimate meeting this morning. And anybody else you want to connect out to, a loved one in need of healing energy. And during this time, let's come into our back body. So there's that sense of dropping back and in. In the places that may seem less accessible, just go ahead and take a few moments with that. At the low back, between your shoulder blades, backs to the legs. Really saying hello to our history, our back, those that back us, those that support us. Long tail of living history that we embody, really billions of years of evolution. And coming forward, and we're at our belly center relaxed. That's the center of action, of will, energy, and to our heart center. Center of compassion and goodwill, love. Place where we're neither grasping after things or pushing things away, but just being present, being with what is. Then our eye center, pineal gland, that we have this wonderful, wonderful capacity for embodied imagination. We can see long horizons of time. So along those three centers, however the image is for you, or however you do it, pushing a button, turning a dial, flipping a switch, getting really present, just light up all those centers. Your capacity for skillful action, grounded compassion, and pragmatic wisdom. And then say to yourself, your foreground commitment right now. What is it that you're living in this time of uncertainty? Thank you. I'm going to go around, since we're just a small group here. I'm just going to call each of your name. And if you just say your mood or a short sentence about where you are right now. And Bo, can we begin with you in Brooklyn? everybody remember to unmute.
Yes, thank you, Richard. I feel very bubbly and content.
Amy,
Good morning. I'm feeling tender and present.
Everly,
Fizzy and slightly disconnected.
Susanna,
Grounded and alive.
hi Magda. You need to unmute.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm feeling grateful and grounded.
Madeline,
Good morning. I'm feeling curious and open.
Solunis,
Good morning. I'm feeling like I'm awaking.
you're in Hawaii right now, huh? Thanks for making it. And is there anybody at Strozzi Institute that wants to say anything, or is that just a symbol?
Hi, it's Stephanie hiding back here. I am a little concerned and only partially here. We're actually doing our evacuation plan right now at the ranch that I'm on. So I'll be stepping away, but I'm glad you're doing this deep work here.
Yeah, be safe. I'm a mix of, I find myself feeling warm and smiley seeing you all, and appreciating actually the intimacy of this small group. And deeper inside, I can feel the memories of the previous fires, and actually the lives lost and the animals lost, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a balance between that for myself. And what I'd like us to do, and you'll all have to unmute for this, is I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and at 3, I would like us all to say together, I'm going to die. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we'll all together say, this truth of impermanence, say I'm going to die, and just let that resonate with us for a moment. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to die.
Going to die.
So for me, it had a very electrical feeling, not only that I said it because it is something I will reflect upon every day. It's a practice, because I gain tremendous kind of affirmation and hope and faith around it, but also to hear you all say that and know that that's so for us. And that in this inquiry that we have today for all of us around uncertainty and how we deal with it, to me, this notion is really a basis of it, that we're the animal that knows that we know, and we know that at some point this is going to end, and it's not going to end just for me, but for everybody. And it gives us an opportunity, number one, I think, to be able to really come to terms with change and impermanence, and also really to come to terms with living in that notion makes this time holy and this time sacred, because we're still here and we're still living and we're still breathing, and we still have many opportunities that we can do to live in compassion and contributing to others and to loving. And in my reflections here around uncertainty is that I go, what is it that gives me ground and gives me some sense of connection to, the perennial philosophies and wisdoms that we live with. And so I'm going to put those out and then open them for different conversations. But the first one really is what I said before, is that, we fundamentally live in uncertainty. And somebody once told me the joke of, how to make God laugh is to make a plan. Because we are very certain that we will wake up, we'll keep going, we have plans for the day, as we should, and all of a sudden we find ourselves in these 3 or 4 adjoining counties, just as we were the last 2 years too. So, really the first thing for me is simply getting myself present. Taking a breath, just like we did in the centering practice, just getting myself present. And as we know in somatics, that we can exercise that practice not just by having an idea of it, but we can begin to feel ourselves. Feel our sense of weight as we're sitting in the chair, where our breath is, everything that's in the room around us. And maybe when we go through the room and see things, we associate them with different people or different situations. It's also, I think, really getting present with what people might call the negative emotions. That I don't have to feel embarrassed or ashamed to say, I'm anxious or I'm afraid. That I have a projection about that little mole that's growing on my leg. Is this really the end of everything? And that mole is cancerous, and that's blah, 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 blah. Really getting present with those kinds of things too. And then have a plan to see in the future two of my grandkids this coming weekend, and that getting present with that, everything like that. Our emotions, our sensations, the images, the struggles. And then if I do that, one of the things that I notice is that there will be things that will come up, and I will put them all in the category of kind of an unkindness to myself, or a lack of generosity to myself. I could have done this better. I regret that. Why didn't I do that? And then if I don't really attend to that, those things, that self-unkindness, so self-criticalness, is that they'll all of a sudden begin to turn and project out into the world. If only the world was different. If only so-and-so was different. If only was A, B, C, or 3 different than it is now, it would be okay. As we say in Aikido, that your uke, the person that you're training with, your training partner, is never wrong. And we find that people will start to be training Aikido and they can't do the technique, and they'll bring the teacher over and say, I can't do this Shomanichi Ikkyo because they're doing this. And can you fix them so I can look good? And what we do is, that's our accountability in saying, no, they're not wrong at all. They're just doing what they're doing. And it's us that has to adjust on that. So your partner is never wrong. How about that? We can keep bringing ourselves back, acknowledging those things in ourselves that are highlights, that are lowlights, and really having a kindness. There was a 17th century Japanese Zen poet named Ryokan Taigen, and he had a line that I always remember that says, last year, a foolish monk. The second line said, this year the same. Last year, a foolish monk, this year the same. And even saying it for myself, I can feel my chest kind of opening there and getting larger and going, yeah, that's true. There's some things that seem kind of really baked in to me. And I make my efforts to be more virtuous or be more patient or be more kind. But inside of that, it really is that sense of really being with, being kind, generous, and a discriminatory acceptance of ourselves. And I use the word discriminatory in the sense that we're not trying to get ourselves off the hook. Like, I accept this, but I know I've been an asshole. So yes, I've been an asshole, and it's a piece of work I'm going to do with it in a generous way. And it's useful for me. Maybe we can all do this together. Let's take our right hand and open the hand just to bring some energy into it. Bring some aliveness and energy into the hand. You can feel that sensation. And Solunis, what do you feel in your hand when you do that? Everybody just unmute for a minute. We'll all do this.
I feel tingling in my hand and an opening in my chest at the same time.
Tingling. Madeline.
It feels as though I'm holding an energy ball and able to extend out, creating
Susanna.
more depth.
Thank you. Susanna.
I feel warmth here in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Magda in Poland.
I'm feeling warmth, but also kind of a heaviness, like I support like feeling very strong, supporting something which is big, I don't know, heavy, but with the strength in it. So it is not like destroying me, but I can hold it.
Beverly from the UK.
Got heat here, and then the ends of my fingers are heavy. There's a solidity about them, and especially in my index finger.
Amy.
I'm struck by the dichotomy of the difference of energy on my palm side and the back side of my hand.
Al.
Yeah, I feel a kind of flow of air, of energy emanating from the center, and I feel my feet very distinctly.
Stephanie, are you still there?
No, she left her computer.
She left, okay. I feel that it's just a kind of, there's a spiraling, circulating energy, like there's these little microscopic somethings or others that are just swimming around in here in aliveness. Let's put that on our heart. Put that right on your heart. So your hand is feeling the heart center. In the heart center is feeling the hand. And in this time, which is probably all the time, but in this exaggerated, amplified time, say to yourself, say to your heart center, thank you. Thank you for taking care of me. And thank you for having me be in a like-minded community of practitioners that were willing to feel our heart center together. And let's go ahead and let the hand come down. Feel what's in that center right now. Another thing that is always very powerful for me is to remember that everything that we see in terms of human involvement, like all the way from these large cities to SpaceX now going out into outer space, to these houses that we're in right now, the best with the bad, all came from the human imagination. It all came from the human imagination. That's where it started. So we can really let that sink in, really the power of our embodied imagination. And with that power of embodied imagination that we can find within ourselves, a vision and an image of a positive future. The future of your health, the future of the good health of your loved ones, a future of the deep, deep intelligence of nature, of landscape, of this planet. Yes, there's fires, and I can see an intelligence in the two, and a wisdom in those fires. And in maybe a short sentence or two short sentences, or you can say pass. What positive future do you hold for yourself or for your loved ones? I know that many.
I will live near a body of water.
Thank you, Amy. Whenever you're ready.
Who's next?
Solunis, whenever you're ready, or anybody.
Okay, sorry. I would create a space for rest and rejuvenation.
For me, it's to contribute together with Riva to the shifting narratives in society.
I feel like I'm a resource.
Suzanne, go ahead and say it again.
I'm a resource. That's what comes up for me. I feel resourceful.
Yes. Beverly?
That my kids will get through school mentally intact. And there's something about I'll be doing healing work when I'm 70.
Maybe so. Magda?
Thank you.
For me, it's very much about contribution, but creating a space without push, like inviting and being present.
I can see a place in a time where strong, vital, big-hearted people can gather and share their heart's desires and their heart's wounds and contribute to healing life for all, including the planet.
I see where elders and those that have wisdom are able to speak into the world and people really receive it into their hearts.
Thank you all. And for me, the other thing on my current list right now is the notion of what is it that I can do? What is it that I can do that contribute to the healing, the betterment, the goodwill, the positive key, the positive space around me? And it was just really lovely to hear so many of you say that what you saw as a positive future was how you make contribution. I think that that's really our tribe, is how do we make contribution and how we wish the best for others. And we know from many, many studies, and we know from our deep ancient intuition that there's a deep sense of well-being and positivity and strength and power that comes when we're actually contributing to others. And let's just take a moment here and in answer to the question, what can I do in these challenging times? What can I do in these challenging times inside of the context of there are many that don't have the resources that we have. There are many that might be reinvigorated or resourced by just something we may say to them. It may be that we're contributing out into the world in a specific way by helping others. I'll give you an example here at Two Rock Aikido is that we're taking a percentage. Last month, we'll do it again this month, a percentage of the money that comes in that always usually goes to upkeep and to our teachers, my teachers, and we're donating it to Black Lives Matter. And they have really a wide range of what they do with those funds. So I say that just as one example, but the other piece for me is much more, is that really I can say, I am a commitment to be loving and compassionate to all. I'm a commitment to be loving and compassionate to all. And in saying that, I feel that as we do in this work, where it's really in my body and deep in my body, and that I know some people might say, I'm going to write that on a piece of paper and put it someplace. On my altar, I have a particular stone that my friend Arkan gave to me, who was a Peruvian shaman. And that stone reminds me I'm going to be loving and compassionate to all. So those places where I get tense, I get caught up in the me, myself, and I, Richard story, and lose track of everybody else, is that I can remind myself that, no, I'm here to be loving and compassionate at all. Could be making a donation someplace like I suggested. It could be that I have a whole bunch of basil and I give the basil out, and guess next morning, thanks to Amy or somebody else, there's pesto on my door. Not like I'm doing it to look for that, but what what is the, I'm not saying that would be your commitment, but what would you say? What would your thing be? And if it comes to you, share it with all of us.
There are, what you inspire in me, Richard Dyer, is just looking for those places where it is the little small acts of kindness, and for me, allowing them to settle in to be enough.
Mm.
I can beat myself up about I'm not doing enough. A lot. So those places of, here's a moment where I can be kind and I can extend kindness or thoughtfulness towards somebody else.
Lovely, thank you.
Something else.
That's a great reminder of where we get caught up in, gee, it's such a small thing, or I'm not doing enough. Thanks for that reminder.
Mm.
So I once brought.
Sorry. Wow. But my comment was connected to Beverly's as I was going to talk before.
Please.
Beverly, the small act of kindness and I'm not enough was connected to my commitment to listening, being a committed listener, and also to help people do the stop, to stop the that act of beating oneself up internally, and to point out when that's happening, and to uplift voices of generosity and nourishment. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Solunis. When you said that you're wanting to help them stop doing that, I had this image of like, if two people in a public place started to fight, I would naturally go, come on, you don't have to fight. Let's talk this through. And I thought, oh, I can do that even if people are fighting themselves. break up the fight.
You know, I once brought this to the ranch. It says free your spirit.
Yes.
And that came along with my commitment, that I'm a commitment to be my creative self and not judge that, oh no, this is not how I should be, or maybe this is not what the composer wrote when I play a piano piece. But I am still very much working with that commitment, and I'm in a very creative phase of my life. And I'm putting that to service to help individuals, but I'm also working to put that to service to these shifting narratives in the society that I now live in. And that's very, very present for me. I have really left, you know, we would throw that piece of paper in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
I have really left that behind now.
Oh.
This is the bird is out of the cage. and it's right here on my desk.
Lovely. Lovely.
Well,
Sorry.
go ahead, Susanna.
I want to be a stable presence for me and for other people.
Mm.
So I don't have a lot to say, but like that came from me.
Beautiful. Thank you.
There is a lot in there.
Mm.
Well, for me, the first part is for me to get out of my own way because it's just what happens when I start to really open my heart and see what I want to see and be able to look at it without judgment. I have to get out of my own way, but my commitment is to be an open door and a place that people can be safe to be, whatever that may be. And I think that's so needed right now in our world. So that would be my biggest commitment, is the door. It's like I can't remember, Richard, if it's Rumi or Havas that says, why do we stay in prison when the door is open? And
Yes.
so I want to be that open door and that place that people can be safe to just be, however, whether it's angry, happy, beating themselves up, but so, excuse me, so they can be who they can be.
Thank you.
For me, it's very much about blending, yeah, in full meaning, understanding, listening, feeling the other, and at the same time follow own values and missions. And it's even more important to me right now to learn more and to share with people in this time of, in politics, everything, so maybe not everything, but more and more starts to be black and white fights about coronavirus, about politics, about so many things. People even in like friendly social spaces, after a few moments starts to almost fight, like black and white, this is good, this is wrong. And now I observe what happens in Belarus with this peaceful protest. It's so beautiful. It shows that even in politics there's space for blending and not just fight. And it is so hopefully helping all the nations. So yeah, blending, it's something I wish, or I want to develop, and I want to share more with people how to do it and how powerful it is. It can be.
Thank you.
I'm helping others to find easy way to initiate new effective actions.
Thank you, Amy. I think that's everybody, yes? So when I had the opportunity to be able to walk through East Africa in Tanzania with the Maasai tribe, is that be part of their gatherings, being invited into their gatherings. One of the things of the many that I learned is that if somebody spoke about something and it was a very positive story about what had happened, just like what everybody said here, everybody in unison would say, that's a healing story. And all the voices would say, that's a healing story. So it wasn't just a single voice, it was a collective voice. And then if there was something that somebody had to share that necessarily wasn't positive or was difficult, they would say collectively in Swahili, that's a story we don't have to live. So if it was positive, they would say, that's a healing story. The other one, they'd say, that's a story we don't have to live. And it was just beautiful to see, one voice would come out of the individual, but it would be the collective that would respond to it. So let me just suggest that in a moment we listen to what everybody says, and we, in our way of saying it, collectively say, may it be so. May it be so. So we can unmute right now. And if this makes sense to you and it works for you, I'll go 1, 2, 3, and we all say, remember we're saying it to everybody's commitment, a beautiful commitment. 1, 2, 3. May it
May it
be so.
be so. Okay. Together we can make a better world. Um, I'm going to read this poem. Many of you are probably familiar with it now. It's by Jeff Foster. And Jeff Foster is a Brit, and I think he was a astrophysicist. And then he got interested in consciousness, started doing meditation, mostly Vipassana Buddhist meditation. And he wrote this, I don't even know if it's a poem, maybe just like a piece of prose. And it's called You Will Lose Everything. And I think this really says very strongly in this specific time of uncertainty, but basically how we go on our short pilgrimage, so much is uncertain. And he says, you will lose everything, your money, your power, your fame, your success, perhaps even your memories. Your looks will go, loved ones will die, your body will fall apart. Everything that seems permanent is impermanent and will be smashed. Experience will gradually, or not so gradually, strip away everything that it can strip away. Waking up means facing this reality with open eyes and no longer turning away. Waking up, and I know we're all on this path of awakening. Waking up means facing this reality with open eyes and no longer turning away. But right now we stand on sacred and holy ground. For that which will be lost has not yet been lost, and realizing this is the key to unspeakable joy. For that which will be lost has not yet been lost, and realizing this is the key to unspeakable joy. We're here right now. Inside of this, we can find joy. Joy is revealed to us. Whoever or whatever is in your life right now has not been yet taken away from you. This may sound trivial, obvious, like nothing, but really it is the key to everything, the why and how and wherefore of existence. Impermanence has already rendered everything and everyone around you so deeply holy and significant and worthy of your heartbreaking gratitude. Impermanence has already rendered everything and everyone around you so deeply holy and significant and worthy of your heartbreaking gratitude. Loss has already transfigured your life into an altar. So a lot of wisdom in that. That's by Jeff Foster, and it's called You Will Lose Everything. And we'll send that title out to you. I know a number of you have heard that before, and it's always for me such a really, really grounding reminder of the sacredness and holiness and tremendous gift and privilege that we have right here, right now. I remember one of my teachers, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, Tibetan meditation master, and he was talking about in his learning of impermanence, and there was this time where when he was still in Tibet, he loved these flowers. I think they were dahlias, I don't know. He loved these flowers and they were just starting to bloom, and he would come and watch them every day. And we were really ready for them to kind of bloom. And, living on the high plateau of that Tibetan area where there's dahlias, a special thing. And then this huge thunderstorm came in and just raked over all those dahlias that came out the next day, and they were gone. And he said his sorrow was inconsolable, young boy, and just crying and crying. And his teacher came to him and he said, they'll come back. He says, them being gone, he said, this is what impermanence is, that we know there will be another coming back. Mm-hmm. What we see lost, we know there will be another revolution of coming back. When I heard him tell that story, and coming deeply from his experience and the way he articulated things, had a tremendous impact on me. That oh yes, where we live here in this dry season and hot season, there's this flower that comes up that we call the pink ladies, and they're perennials, and how they come up and what they do is like, oh my God, thank you for that. Somebody the other day said they looked and they go, they're like aliens coming out of the ground, but they come out because of impermanence, because everything will be changing all the time. So let me stop there. And if anybody would like to share anything about your life, your learning, your inquiry, any questions about what I presented in those 5 things, which I'll send out to, let's open the space to that in the next 5 or so minutes.
Richard, can I also request that I share what's coming up for courses?
Yeah, I plan to leave some time for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Richard, can I share something that came up for me?
Yes.
When you said, particularly it played up when you said, let's say all together we are going to die. On August 8th in the evening, I joined a trauma meditation group that was being held in Japan online, because they were commemorating the people who died in the Nagasaki atomic bomb. And my father was on the mountains of Nagasaki as a prisoner of war. And he almost died there because the mine collapsed and he was 36 hours buried alive. And he was saved by the Japanese and his friends. And the magic of life is such that I was born in the Netherlands. Both my father and mother were affected by the Japanese in the Second World War. My mother lost her father. He was killed by the Kempeitai in Indonesia, the Japanese secret police. And then their son, who was born in 1980, said, I have this opportunity to apply for a scholarship to Japan. What do you think? And my father said, well, if this is the country where I almost died, if you can do a step of your career, you have my blessing. And my mother said, well, we don't hate the Japanese. In every book of life, there's kind of a black page and you just have to turn it. So I went to Japan, had a wonderful time, made a lot of friends. And later, in the 80s, I met my American wife, Riva, with whom I'm very happy. So this country that did all these bad things to my parents gave me one of the most wonderful gifts. And so 2 weeks ago, I was able to share that story and with the Japanese. And I realized that it was not just me sharing that, but it was also my parents sharing that with them. So life is truly emergent, and you cannot predict what will happen. And that uncertainty that we all need to live in makes all of that possible for me.
Mm. That's gorgeous. Wow. If it wasn't for the Japanese, pulling you out of that mine, pulling your father out of the mine, you wouldn't be here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
What came up for me was I find it very grounding to be here with all of you and like face what is. And that's like a big thing for me right now, like face what is and be in life as it is. So thank you for that. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm finding particularly as I'm parenting, that I land up saying to my kids, but also to myself, I think I believe it less when it's to myself, but to my kids, I say, we haven't got there yet. It hasn't happened, whatever it is they're worrying about in the future. And we'll deal with it when we get there. And it's about trusting ourselves. So I'm struck by the dichotomy of me talking about, is it ever enough? And playing with, when we get there, I trust in myself, I trust in you, that there is always going to be a solution through. There'll always be a way through something. Might be a rock and a hard place, but I find myself in that space frequently, but also in a question of, does that mean I'm just kicking the can down the road? Am I disconnecting from whatever it is? Should I be worrying about this more than I actually am? There's a paradox in there for me somewhere.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is powerful about a somatic living or a somatic reality, it allows us to really hold the paradoxes of life and the contradictions of life. And once we open to that, we realize they're just present everywhere and all the time. But we actually live in the larger awareness, larger energy field that can hold those things. Yeah, thank you. We're at the end here. And as many of you know, like you've been doing, SI's made some really strong 2 steps. We're going to do courses where everybody is meeting at the dojo. No, you're not. No, you're not. but no. So what we're doing is this 2-step and living a lot on Zoom, as I know a lot of you are. And we've really had a kind of a very tremendous response. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people being in courses and going, this is really the time for somatics. So I'm going to turn it over to Solunis. Solunis, if you would. And fill us in.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. I had to laugh when you said we're doing a really strong 2-step because I still feel myself in that. We have 2 courses that are coming up that will open. One is open for registration right now and is specifically for coaches, and that's Coaching in Context. Practical solutions to embody dignity, inclusion, and belonging for diversity in your coaching practice. And that will be led by Nathan Shara, beginning on October 6th. So for those, we're all coaches here. So for those who are interested in that course, that's open for enrollment. And then we will open a course called Embodied Leadership 2, Choosing Change, yes, Choosing Change, which is sort of like a return to the principles or practices that you've learned in Embodied Leadership Level 2. So looking at conditioned tendencies, recommitting to your declaration. I think it's I love going back to the fundamentals, right? Because it always has something new every time. I repeat it. And maybe that's the dancer in me, right? It's like, how do I get back to a beginning class just to like have some solid ground? But that will be opening for enrollment by Thursday. So please look for that on our website. And most of our courses, as they roll out, you can go to our webpage and there's a link at the top that says new online offerings, and click that. We will be continuing to update that with new products and new courses as they're available.
Thanks, Solunis. wonderful being with you all. I think you can all see the screen. Maybe, let's see, with one word, 2 words, short sentence, say your mood right now. And Amy, would you begin and then pass it on to somebody?
Thank you, Richard. I'm tender but connected. Magda.
I am grounded and grateful. Susanna.
I'm a bit anxious. Solunis.
I am tender and reflective. Val?
I am filled with gratitude. Madeline?
I am grateful and in love.
Mm.
Beverly?
I feel joyful and light. It's Richard, no?
I'm
Richard.
yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm grateful and touched. Amy, have you gone?
Started.
Started. There you go. Everybody's gone. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Lots of love to all of you.
Yes.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Be well and
Bye.
healthy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.